Hey, Lab Coat Agents, it's Tristan, and I've got Brian Curtis with me today. If you don't know Brian Curtis, it'd be nice if you get to know him because the guy is pretty brilliant, even though he's pretty humble. He doesn't say he's brilliant, but we all know he is. The guy has so many talents in real estate. Usually you find people that focus in on one thing at a time. He's been doing it for a while, and he's mastered a few of them. So it's rare to find somebody like Brian. Brian, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Tell the audience where you're from, your team, what you run, how it looks like?
Sure. So I'll tell you the same thing my wife always says. I'm not from Arkansas, but I do live in Arkansas. So if you hear my accent, you're like, that doesn't sound like a Southern accent. It's not. I've lived here for about 17 years, been in real estate, general real estate for about 15, and sold timeshare before that. That's how I got into real estate. It's always an interesting story.
Dude.
Yeah. So be careful, I can close. But so I built a team a couple of years ago. When I say a couple of years ago, starting in 2014 when I was at Keller Williams, and we got that team built up. Just this April, I started my own brokerage, moved my team over there, and nothing bad to say about KW. It was just time to do something different. Sometimes you can't have the same opportunities when you're at a brokerage that you can have if you have your own. So did that. We have a team of, I think we have 22 agents now. I apologize for saying I think it's a moving target, as I'm sure you know, Tristan.
Yep.
People come, people go. And, we've got a core group of people who have stayed with us the whole time. Then we've got 4 administrators. And I'm also a Club Wealth coach. I have 17 coaching clients. And that's the short version of me.
Nice, dude. Do you know what day it is?
Thursday. Took me a second.
Well, since we kind of run the same, team and ideas, I always get lost on what day it is. I seriously do.
Yeah, it took me a couple seconds to remember, to be honest.
It's good to know that it's not just my problem, dude.
It's everybody who's out there busy. It's a good problem to have if you're just so busy doing so many things, always moving. For me, I can remember for those of you who are new in the business, I remember 2006 sitting in my living room in February, and I was a real estate agent, but I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I was basically unemployed, and I vowed to never have that happen again, and so I've gone the other way. And someday I'll finish everything. That'll either be the day I retire or the day I die. One of those days, everything will be done. So
that's right, dude. Never. That's it. All right. So today we're going to talk about offering clients something other than what we normally offer, right? Which is the whole customer service thing and just doing the whole transaction better. We're talking a little bit about a unique selling proposition. And I know we talked about it with Helixson on Tuesday, and he brought some good insight on it, I thought. And I'm glad that we're talking about it today as well, because I don't think a lot of people were finished.
Okay.
I was getting messages and texts as to, well, what other things can I use as my unique selling proposition? So to start, tell us what you think a unique selling proposition looks like, and give us some ideas.
Sure. So for me, a unique selling proposition is just anything I do different. So, I mentioned I was in the business in 2006. I actually started in general real estate around 2005. I can remember back in those days where someone got in my car, and by the way, we actually put people in our cars back then. So someone got in my car and they were my client. The reason they were my client is because I happened to get them and I did a good job with them. I did kind of like you were saying, hey, here's my service. I brought you this and this and this and this. The problem is in 2018 versus 2005 is in 2018, there was no Zillow, no Realtor.com, no Trulia, none of these other websites. I actually knew what was for sale and they didn't. Remember those days?
Oh, wow. Yes.
It was great. And the reality was they didn't reach out to 25 other realtors on a daily basis. And that's probably an exaggeration. But I think when you think about this unique selling proposition, here's the number one reason to have it. You are somewhere between the first and 15th realtor they've spoken to. And that's just the reality. Somebody does have to be first. I'm not saying that, but if you make the assumption that they're only talking to you, that's a really poor assumption in my market, So with that in mind, I want to be different, and I want to be different. So unique selling proposition. For those of you on teams, I think that we're missing the boat. I hear people do this all the time. If you're on a team, tell the person you're on a team. And what I mean by that is, so here's a script for that. Hey, Tristan, I wanted you to know that I am not available 24 hours a day. I wish I could be. Sometimes I feel like I work 24 hours a day. But one of the things that I know is that, we're in a seller's market. Things are pretty hot. So if for whatever reason you need to see a house today and right away and I'm not available, here's the thing. I've got 22 other people who can help you out. There's a unique selling proposition, and you didn't even have to offer them anything. Too many people who are on a team focus on themselves. I'm Brian. The customer doesn't care who you are. What the customer cares about is what you're bringing to them. So that's a unique selling proposition if you're on a team. If you're not on a team, that's a different thing. But that's just one of those things that I feel like we're really missing today is if you're on a team, leverage it. Because here's the thing. If I'm sitting in front of you, Tristan, I can say, I hear this all the time. Well, I don't want to work with a team. I want to work with just one agent, right? You've heard that objection.
Yep.
But here's the thing. I can overcome that. And at the end of it, I can go through and show you all the benefits of being on the team. And then I can do what I call a trial close or a tie down. And I say, so Tristan, after I explain to you that we have someone who's available 7 days a week to show your property, after I explain to you that someone else is going to make sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's in this entire transaction so we don't mess anything up, after I explain to you all these different things that we offer, let me ask you, does it make more sense to work with an individual agent, or does it make more sense to work with someone like me and basically hire 25 people for the price of one? Which makes more sense to you?
Dude.
So, and here's the thing. That's just a simple thing. I haven't even offered anything above and beyond what normal people have. But let me talk to you about some of the actual USPs that we use. So we use
I have a question, Brian.
Oh, please, go ahead.
What does your shirt say?
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Life begins at the, where'd you get that?
At Tony Garabin's conference in San Jose, California, back in 2012.
Nice.
Yep.
I have the Millennium Falcon. Oh, wait, do I have them? Yeah,
nice.
I have the Millennium Falcon.
That's awesome. So I love stuff like that. And, this shirt is one of my absolute favorite shirts just because it reminds me that the more uncomfortable I am, the more likely I am to be successful. And
that's a perfect shirt for today's topic.
I think so.
Because a lot of real estate agents at the beginning of their career and ones that have become complacent, they find that they're no longer pushing the envelope, right? Or the newer agents just don't know that they don't know what they don't know because they're not searching hard enough to push.
Absolutely.
So how do we become, because we're going to talk about uniqueness, how do we become or find that uniqueness in this industry?
Well, and so let me just talk about some of the actual offers we do. So I have what I call a VIP buyer program. Inside that VIP buyer program, I've got a couple of steps. So here's the first thing I offer. I call it Love It or List It, which basically means, hey, Tristan, so you're going to go out and we're going to look at houses. We're going to find you the perfect house for you. I also understand, unfortunately, sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes you get moved for your job, 2 months after you buy your house, or, you have a kid and all of a sudden I don't fit in that house anymore because we had twins instead of having one kid. Who knows? Life happens. So unique selling proposition is if you buy a house with us and any time in the first 12 months, it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and maybe it has something to do with personal circumstance, maybe it's something that's beyond your control, we'll sell that house for you for free. And we've done that twice this year, by the way, so it's not one of those trick USPs. For all those people out there who hear about trick USPs, none of my USPs are tricky. None of them are meant to deceive and get you in the door. It's a legitimate USP. Both of those people that I'm talking about were personal clients of mine, and they ended up moving someplace else for a job beyond their control. They got, they got a great opportunity to move to another location, and they didn't need a house in Northwest Arkansas because one was moving to Tennessee and the other one moved to Kansas City. So real things. And, that USP is one of those things where you can get people to go, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen in a year. Me neither. And I can't guarantee you what's going to happen with the market. I can't guarantee you with this, but what I can guarantee you is if you come back to me in a year or less than a year, and for whatever reason you need to sell your house, then we'll basically waive our listing commission. And it gives you the opportunity, believe it or not, both of those people actually made money on their house selling it in less than 12 months. So, if I had to charge them 6% commission, that both of them probably would have been upside down. Now, did I make any money on that? No. But the reality is I probably got some good leads off of those houses. I don't want to sell houses for free as a rule, but those are opportunities that we've got for people to do that. So that's one of my USPs that works really well.
Nice, man. Nice. All right. So let's talk about uniqueness. How does somebody find that? How do we go look for what's going to set us apart so that we're different from all these other agents out there? Do we just start by copying other people? Do we look at our strengths and see what we could do? What do we do?
So I think authenticity. I was talking to somebody about you earlier today, and I said one of the things I love, if you listen to Tristan talk, he's authentic and empathetic. So, that's a compliment to you.
Thank you.
Empathy. So many people are so stuck on what they know and not willing to listen to what other people say. So I was talking earlier about the fact that I can give you a script, and the general you, not Tristan, but I can give you a script, but the words mean very little. As we all know, communication is 93% nonverbal. So, how I talk to you and how I communicate with you is far more important than the words I say. So, but we don't necessarily advertise our USPs directly, with the exception of one. The one that we do advertise is buy this house, I'll sell your house free. So that actually goes on every single one of our signs. If you drive by one of our listings, there's a rider that says buy this house and I'll sell your house for free. So that is one of our unique selling propositions.
That's
and
cool.
It's getting out there just by being on the house. So a lot of people say, well, that sounds horrible. I'm going to have to sell a house for free. Yeah, but you double-sided the other house. So, and here's the thing. Most people are buying a bigger house. There's exceptions to that. But if I have to sell a $150,000 house for free and I double-side a $300,000 house, that's a great thing. Here's the other reality. How many people have you actually gone and shown one house to when they bought that house? Next to none. So that USP, people drive by and they're like, ooh, I got a house to sell. I'll go take a look at this house. And people actually go into a house they never would have gone into simply because they're like, well, maybe this house will work for me and I can actually go in this house and then I can sell my house for free. So 95% of the time, it doesn't happen that way. But here's the thing. Every person who's interested in that USP is a seller. Because if I'm a buyer only, if I'm a renter, then I don't care about buy this house, I'll sell your house free. I don't have a house to sell. So that's a great USP to me. That's how we get that out there. We run that on every single sign, every single Facebook I have. It's hashtag buy with me, sell for free. So we get that out there over and over and over again, and we get tons of inquiries on that. And here's something else that's interesting. Most people read the USP incorrectly. And what I mean by that is most people hear, if you buy a house with me, in other words, you work with me to buy a house, I'll sell your house for free. That's not the USP. The USP is you have to buy one of our listings, and then we'll sell your house for free. So, we get that out there just by signs. And, I love sign calls.
So that's become part of your branding then?
Mm-hmm. Every single day.
I like that.
Yep. It's on every Facebook ad. It's on every sign that's out there. So we want everyone to know that that's one of the biggest things that we do that we can help you out with.
I love that, dude. So then let's separate this USP from actual branding. Because in the last webinar we did on Tuesday, somebody brought up, well, what if I decide to put out there that we give money to charities, right? Mm-hmm. I go, okay, you know what? Now that's a little bit different. I don't think that's a unique selling proposition. That's more of your branding. So I'd like to separate them both so people understand that they're separate. In your case, you've put them together.
A little bit.
It's become part of your branding, which is cool, but they're separate.
Yes.
Right? So can you explain how you see that separately so that people can understand the branding portion and the USP so that people don't confuse them?
Sure. So branding is about what I do, and again, like I said, there's going to be a little bit of overlap, but USPs are those unique things that we're offering that somebody else isn't, where branding is me getting my name and my face out there. So you asked this earlier, how are we getting that message out? The majority of the time, the way that we get that message out is by actually talking to the consumer. I know that sounds of course we're talking to the consumer, but we're not doing a ton of advertising with our USPs. So I'll give you an example. A buyer's agent all the time hears this, oh, I've already got an agent,
All the time.
All the time. So, and this is I wish I would have created this script, but I didn't. So Eric, shout out to Eric Eby, who's on my team. He created the script. He said, oh, that's awesome. So I'm sure that agent that you're working with must have an amazing VIP buyer program. That's the entire script. And then he just shuts up. Doesn't ask them about it, doesn't ask if they want to hear about it, just says, I'm sure that agent must have an amazing VIP buyer program. 9 times out of 10, what will happen is the person will go, what are you talking about? Now you have an opportunity to go and explain what, ours has 5 steps. It has Love It or Listed. We have the vendor program. We have the contractor guarantee program, and we've got a free cancellation policy. So basically we've got all of these things, and I can talk to you about those. And what we find out 9 times out of 10, they didn't have an agent. They just didn't want to talk to you. But now I've got something that you want to talk about, because now I'm going to offer you something that costs absolutely nothing for you to be involved. So people will do that. And to me, that's a great, great thing to do. And so you don't have to go out there and spend a ton of money advertising it. Theoretically, we're talking to people all day, every day. Just do that. We also use it for lead generation. So if I call this person, you experience this, I call this person and they don't answer the phone. What am I going to do? I'm going to send them up on a drip. I'm going to call them. I'm going to email. I'm going to video text them. I'm going to text them. I'm going to do all this stuff for them. But the reality is we're not offering that to anybody. So one of the things that we'll do in there is we'll just send, hey, you might be interested in this, and I can send you a link to my VIP buyer program. So there's an opportunity for someone to respond.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Can you go into detail what the buyer VIP program looks like? Because the first time I heard it was from Barry, and I'm assuming Barry learned it from you or somebody at...
Probably. I coach Barry.
Yeah. So
yeah, but absolutely. So the first part of my VIP buyer program, we already kind of covered. That's Love It or List It. If anytime in the first 12 months, if you want to, we will go ahead and sell your house for free. So that's a great opportunity for somebody to, like I said, we've done it. The next thing is we have a vendor support program. So this started out as a discount program for all the stuff you need at a house. We got a plumber, we got an electrician, we've got a contractor. It started out as a discount program, and I've changed it because I can't speak to your market, but I can speak to mine in that the problem is not getting the best deal. The problem is getting the best person. So what I mean by that is, so maybe my plumber costs 10% more than the cheapest plumber that you can get. But if you call my plumber, he'll show up on time and he'll do his job. And I know that seems like a silly thing. That should be our general expectation. But here's the reality, and you know that this is true. Contractors run on a scale of 1 to 10, anywhere from 1 to 10. 10's a great guy, shows up, does what he was supposed to do, and charges you a reasonable price. 1, the guy doesn't even show up. Well, guess what? If I refer you to a guy who doesn't show up, they don't blame him, they blame me.
Of course, man. They're directly tied to you. That's exactly what happened to me 2.5 months ago. I got my contractor to go out there to fix a patio, and he keeps on delaying. And then on the day of, he doesn't show up. The client calls me super angry, cursing me out actually, and saying, what kind of show are you running here? I'm like, so it totally reflects on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, here's the thing. All the people who don't get this, please get this. If you're doing any more than 20 transactions a year, you are valuable to those people. You're valuable to electricians and plumbers and contractors and painters, all those people, they love you. And by the way, if you get with one or two of them, get them in a program where they will show up, do what they say they're going to do, that is far, far more valuable than getting someone, we call it Chuck in a truck, that, Chuck in a truck shows up and God only knows what happens. So bring that value, So here's an example. This afternoon, we've got a guy who lives out of town, and my contractor's going over to his house because he's got an offer coming in, and the offer had some repairs built into that offer. And he's like, well, I don't know what to do with that. No problem. I'll send over one of my vendors. That vendor will go, we'll get a bid. So we'll know exactly what it's going to cost to make those repairs before you decide whether or not you want to accept this contract. Those are above and beyond things that to me are relatively simple, but they bring value. My 17-year-old is not licensed, so he can't do this. But, in 6 months, if he passes his test, he can open a door just as well as I can. Opening the door brings no value. The truth of the matter is, I was talking to Mike Bjorkman. They're building out systems on that you could literally not open the door. You don't even have to be there to open the door. You can open the door remotely and let the person in. Now, I think that's a bad idea. But the point is, the physical opening the door, that's no longer a value. And if you think that that's your value as a real estate agent, you're in trouble.
Well, the reason a lot of people don't see past that as agents at the very beginning is because they're not trained the right way. So they don't know what value they bring, right? They don't know what they're supposed to. They actually don't know what value they're supposed to bring, dude.
Absolutely.
So I think with the idea that you have that VIP buyer, is that what it's called? The VIP buyer?
Yeah, it's a VIP buyer, and you can build the same exact thing on the seller side. It's just going to have a little different offer. But let me tell you the third part of that VIP buyer program, which to me is very unique to us, and I created it by accident. I'd like to tell you that I was brilliant and came up with it, but I created it by accident. So we were having contractors repair stuff, just like I'm sure everybody negotiates contracts. So you go and you say, hey, we need these 4 items fixed. The seller says, great, I'll fix them. And then what happens? So theoretically, you'll get a receipt if the seller didn't do it themselves. But how do you know it was done right? So we came up with a program to determine if it was done right. And basically, we have a contractor. We started paying them. We paid them $75 to do it the first couple times. We paid them $75 to go out to the house and verify that the repairs were done correctly, because we represented the buyer. The seller did the repairs, and we wanted to make sure that they were done correctly. And after that, the contractor did it for free, because what the contractor found out is he's got somebody who's the best person in the world for him, because this person's about to buy a house. And so when he met out there, he went and said, yep, those 4 items, they were repaired correctly. They're done great. You've got a good house in front of you. And then what happened was they say, well, we're thinking about building a deck, or we're thinking about remodeling this kitchen, or we want to put hardwood floors in the living room. Who are they going to ask? They're going to ask this contractor who's standing right there. So the contractor literally goes out for free, and we found problems. A piece of flashing is installed incorrectly, or they didn't repair what they said they were going to repair because they paid some handyman, who lived down the street to repair it. And our contractor's like, yeah, you've got a receipt, but that's not done correctly. And the truth of the matter is, I'm a real estate agent. If someone asks me if a flashing is done correctly on a roof, I don't know the answer to that question. Somebody asked me if the electrical was fixed correct. I don't know. That's not my job, and it's also not in my wheelhouse. But a contractor can go out there and verify that. How many thousands and thousands of dollars are we hypothetically saving those people by making sure that some seller, because let's face it, did the seller get the best guy? No, they get the cheapest guy, right? Because they're trying to just get out. They don't care. It's not their house anymore. They're going to go and they're going to Band-Aid this thing together as quickly as possible. My guy comes out and makes sure they didn't do it half-assed, for, excuse my language. That's just the best way I can put it.
Yeah, that's all right, dude. So you would gather, so if people are trying to build a VIP buyer program, it's like a concierge program almost, right?
Absolutely.
I love that. So we would just go to our closest service providers, like electrician, plumber, or along those lines. That's what you're looking at, and then you offer those to the buyers. Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're doing?
So basically I've got a list, and that list says, if you need an electrician, call Jordan Anderson. If you need a plumber, call Mays Plumbing. And so they'll call them. Here's the other thing. They know who I am, Why do they know who I am? Because they asked me to be on that list. All those people want to be on that list. Our team will sell 350 houses this year. So if we're going to sell that many houses, there's every one of them, there's a good chance that there's an opportunity there for one of those vendors to work with them. So they want to be on our list. So when you call and say, hey, Mr. Electrician, I need you to come out and, do some work at my house. I'm one of Brian's clients. I work with Curtis Realty Group. They go, great, and they get on it, because they know if they don't get on it, I'm going to call them and say, what the heck? Do you want to be on our list or not?
Do you have one of each category or two as a backup?
I have two. I always think it's good to have at least a couple of people. That way you can spread it out. And because not everybody's available 100% of the time either. Now, I can tell you that they push our people to the top of the list, and they really, really do.
Nice. And do you ever offer like a discount?
So several of them I asked to offer a discount when I initially started the program. And then honestly, I've gone away from that, because that's not what's important to me.
No, it's not.
So, you got an electrician and he's going to go out and charge you $250. If you get it for 220, does it really matter? No, what matters is the guy showed up on time, was professional, and did exactly what he said he was going to do. And that you got the right work done. And I know everybody's looking for a discount in this world, but here's the reality. Pay for good service is, to me, significantly more important than saving $10.
So, dude, let's role play, because I want to see this part in action, because I know you're good at this. Show me. I'm a buyer that's been on your website, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you the same thing that a lot of buyers tell you, which is I'm working. I've seen a couple properties. I don't really have an agent, right? And then you can tell me about your buyer program. All right.
So the first thing I would do, and you probably do this too, just out of curiosity, Tristan, so 4 or 5 people have shown you different houses. What didn't you like about those agents?
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Okay,
so
please.
People can kind of see everything. Because I like this part, dude. I love role playing. So you're going to give me a call. You can do the ring thing. Like the
ring.
Hello?
Hey, Tristan, this is Brian Curtis with Curtis Realty Group, and I saw that we'll make your Realtor.com later. So I made an inquiry about 123 Main Street on Realtor.com, and I'd love to set up a time to show you the property or answer any questions you have.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I was on searching for property, but I've seen a few properties. I'm just not sure if we're quite ready yet.
Okay. So you're not ready yet. What exactly are you looking for, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm looking for a home that's about no more than 150,000. It's our first time purchasing.
Awesome.
And probably 2 to 3 bedrooms, 2 baths around there. That's what I'm primarily looking for. Has to be a house though.
Okay. Don't want a condo, townhouse, anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, great. So, you made an inquiry about this property. Is it something that you'd like to go take a look at? I've got some time available on Tuesday and Wednesday, or either of those.
Well, I'm not sure, because we've seen a couple of different properties with different realtors. So, I mean, how does it work? Do I just use like one realtor, or I don't know. It's our first time purchasing.
Gotcha. So, there's a couple of things. To me, just like any other person that you're hiring, a lot of people don't look at it this way, but ultimately what you're doing is you're hiring somebody to help you with something, right? Just like if you're hiring a plumber or an electrician, I think it's a great job to interview people. One of the things that I would like to ask is what are you looking for in an agent? I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't do. What are you looking for? Because I may not be the right fit for you. I might be. What are you looking for?
I'm just looking for somebody that knows the market well and I can trust, right?
Okay.
I don't want a used car salesman, that's for sure. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'll take that cape off for a second. I'm just kidding. But I'll tell you this. So, ultimately, here's the reality of a real estate agent in 2018 is that, we used to be able to go out there and we had a unique list of properties. We had all this information that nobody had. The reality is Zillow, Truly, Realtor.com, all those websites that you've been out looking at, you can see what houses are for sale. So, for us, I need to bring a different value because anyone can open a door. So what I'd like to, do with you, love to go meet you at this house, show it to you, and then go over some of the benefits that we have. So we have a pretty cool VIP buyer program that we allow people to get into. As a matter of fact, I've also got a first-time home buyer program, since you mentioned that, where we can give you some
what is that? What does that look like?
So if you work with us and our lender, our first-time home buyer program, we will pay for your home warranty, and we'll get you a free appraisal as well. So,
oh wow,
yeah, saves you about $1,000. It's not saving you millions, but like you say, every penny counts. And if you're like me, when I went to buy a house, every penny counts, because I've got down payment, I've got closing costs, and all this other stuff. I got to move. So ultimately, we're just trying to share a little bit in that, and give you an opportunity to save a little bit of money in the process.
What about that buyer VIP program you mentioned? Is that the same thing?
No, it's a separate program. So if you weren't a first-time home buyer, everybody qualifies for the VIP buyer program. But we've got a bunch of different things in that. So you're a first-time home buyer. Here's part of that. We have inside that we have what we call Love It or Leave It, which basically means, for whatever reason in the first year, if you don't like your house, sometimes people end up buying too small a house or too big a house, or they get moved because they got relocated. Then ultimately what we do is we'll sell that house for free for you, because we understand that if you have to sell a house probably in less than 3 years, there's a good opportunity that you're going to lose some money on it. The market's been pretty hot the last couple of years, but we can't expect it to continue to be quite that hot.
So you're saying if I buy a home and I don't like it from you, I don't like it, I can go back to you and be like, hey, sell my home and don't charge me?
Absolutely. Anytime in the first 12 months.
Oh, all right. When can we meet?
Okay. I've got time available Tuesday or Wednesday. Which day works better for you?
Dude, I love that. I love how you have the different programs, because you can kind of gauge where they're at and see where they're going to fit. That was awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I love that. Dude, you're going to have to send me the different programs.
All right. I can do it. I'll send you an email when we're done. You can do that. So I'll share one more program with you that has really been beneficial for us. And it's what I call the public servant program. So
a what?
The public servant program.
You know what I heard? I heard the public surfer program. I'm like, dude, that sounds awesome.
That's what it is.
I was like, yes, sign me up for that.
I'm in the surfer program. No, the public servant program, basically we're looking at teachers, firefighters, police officers, clergy, anybody who nurses, paramedics, anyone we can fit into this bucket. I've talked to people, and some people say, why don't you just offer that to anybody? Well, the reason I don't want to offer it to anybody is it doesn't feel unique. If I say anybody can have this, then it's not unique. So it's a great thing. And so we can do some marketing for this. So for example, sometimes we'll go and we'll talk to a bunch of teachers. Hey, by the way, we've got this really cool program if you're a teacher and you're looking to buy a house. Oh, we also include veterans and active service military in that as well. So, it's a great opportunity. And it's the identical incentive that I'm giving first-time home buyers. It's a free home warranty and a free appraisal. So it doesn't really cost me much. It costs me about $550 for the home warranty, and my lender's paying for the appraisal. So
dude, that's a really good idea. So this program specifically for, what did you call it? You had a name.
Public servant.
Public servant. So police officer, teacher, fireman. Would you put a doctor in there too, or no?
I don't put doctors. I do put nurses and paramedics. My thought is doctors make enough money.
The doctors actually make a ton of money, so that's a good point.
But clergy,
you put like a librarian in there?
Here's the thing. If between you and I would stretch it to anybody who's willing to work with us if I can. Someone says, well, I work at the school. Great, you're in.
Dude, I love this, because when you're talking to somebody on the phone, because you and I get online leads, and they're just all over the place.
Yep.
So when you start talking to them and you have all these programs, that's a really great way to hook them. Like, chances are one of those programs is going to fit one of these people, and all of a sudden they perceive value.
Absolutely.
And then you lock them in that way. Dude, that's brilliant.
So, again, going back to where we started, and this, I don't know how long you've been in the business, but again, back in '06 '05 when I started, you only talk to one, maybe two agents. There's no way that an online lead, by the time they get to me, probably hasn't talked to 5, 7, 8, 10 agents. I've got to be unique. But what they're also telling me is that nobody else bothered to do anything that made them think that they should work with them. So if I'm the 7th agent that you're talking to, the first 6 haven't done a good enough job to impress me. It is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So give me an opportunity to impress you is what that person's saying. They're not saying it directly. They're saying it indirectly. And, another thing that I tell people all the time, and this is going to sound crazy, most agents would never say this, is I can only work with so many people at a time. And it's true, especially if you're working with buyers.
Yeah.
You can't work with 25 buyers at a time. I don't care who you are. At the end of the day, you're going to run out of time. So use that. If I'm in front of you, we give you all these programs. Guys, are you interested in working with me? I'd love to work with you, but here's the reality. If you're, want to work with a bunch of other agents, that's great, and I wish you well, but I've only got so many hours in the day. I'm good. We've got all of these programs put in place, and I'm happy to go to work for you and do an amazing job for you. All I'm asking is that you work with me. How does that work for you guys?
Dude, you're like the program king.
I am. I like programs.
I love this, dude. Good job. I have one question. Let's see here. Well, I'll read it out. Maybe it's not a question. And Michelle Berquist, Brian Curtis is pure gold. He's a real estate genius. Listen to what he says and how he says it. That's important. So much value. Oh, he's just saying so listen up, everybody. Oh,
thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. Dude, I love that, dude. I think maybe you and I should go live into the group next week sometime.
Okay.
And just role play.
I love to role play. That's fun.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you. You're great at role playing. So I think that would be perfect because while you're role playing, what's going to stand out for people that are listening is going to be your programs. You're going to give them value. That's so,
It's important. Well, again, remember this, like I said, we used to have all the inventory, right? And I think we were dumb to give it away, but that's another story for another webinar.
Well, hold on. Christy's got a serious question here.
Okay, good.
And I think you kind of answered it, but you're going to answer it here really well for her. She says, I love these incentives, but I work in a state where you can't offer financial inducements. What are some other things we can offer besides like the vendors and the contractors? That was a good idea, she said.
Well, so when you look at, you can't offer any financial inducement. Okay. No. That's interesting. I don't know which state or what state is Christy in?
She's going to tell us right now. She said none. You give her a few seconds, she'll type it up.
Okay.
But while she's doing it, I mean, there are a few. Oh, Missouri. She's in Missouri.
Interesting. I used to be licensed in Missouri. Okay. If you can't kick back any of your commission, by the way, you might double check on that. There's people who say stuff and it may be inaccurate, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but a lot of times people say that. Like, for example, when I've spoken to many real estate mortgage brokers, and they say, well, we can't share in your listing. We can't share in paying for leads. Well, we all know that you can, but that's one of their things. So he's a broker, and I'm sure. Okay, that's fine. So let's just assume you can't. So, ultimately, that's why the VIP buyer program has no expenses in it, because there's no money coming out of it whatsoever. So I feel like that those are things that you can do. That love
you know what, dude?
Program. So
you can change that name too, Christy. You can change that name from the VIP buyer program to the VIP service provider program, or the what did you call it? Not the surfer, but the other one, the service.
Oh, the public servant program.
Public service program.
Yeah.
And in essence, it's the exact same thing as the VIP buyer program. You just change the name and you lock them in.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you don't have to give financial money. I mean, I'm given $500 approximately based on the home warranty. But here's the thing, one of the other things I didn't talk about here's a great program in slower markets. And I don't know if your markets, in seller markets, is we actually will offer our home finder program as well. So there's a great program where if you can't find a house in a certain neighborhood, we will do three things. We will actually go door knock the entire neighborhood. We will phone call the entire neighborhood, all the phone numbers that we can get. And, we'll actually go out there and send messages to all those people and basically say, we have a buyer who's looking to buy in your neighborhood. Do you know anyone who's willing to sell? To me, that program right there, we don't do it very often, but if you've got a person who can't find a house, how powerful is that? What other agent is saying, well, you can't find a house? I'll tell you what, I'll just go knock on every single door in this neighborhood. I'm going to make phone calls and I'll mail them. So in other words, we can send out flyers. We have a buyer. Her name is Christy Jones, and she wants to buy a house in your neighborhood. Do you know anyone who's interested? And, even if it doesn't work, how amazing is that? And if you don't get a listing lead off of, calling 400 people and door knocking 400 people and sending them a letter, then I don't know. That's a different problem.
that may be a problem with your scripts. But
right.
You bring up a great point. I think Christy and everybody who's listening, when you start itemizing the things that you can do a little differently that are a step above everyone else, you can add that to whatever you want to call program. You can call it a VIP buyer program, a VIP seller program, whatever it is. Then all of a sudden, when you're talking to people, you can say, hey, I have a specific program for you, even though it's the exact same program you offer to another type of a client. But the point is itemizing it and knowing that it's there so that you can verbalize it as an incentive to a buyer or a seller when you're talking to them.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant, dude. You did such a great job doing that. I didn't know that about you. So I'm glad we had this webinar.
Awesome. Well, and here's the other thing is no matter what, it sounds like you have a plan. And if you haven't figured that out, that people who you're helping buy a house or sell a house, you are helping them arguably with the biggest transaction they're going to do in any 5-year period, right? Most people show up completely unprepared and just kind of winging it. And the reality is, good salespeople, I was a pretty good salesperson once upon a time, those people can get away with that. But here's the thing, you don't get away with it all the time. So when you show up with a plan, if for no other reason that you're different, if I've talked to 10 people and they all had said the same thing, but Brian said something different, I'll pick Brian. Is he better? I'm not sure, but at least he had something different to say. And I know that seems silly and oversimplistic, but being unique is everything when you're in a market that's highly competitive. They've got to pick somebody. They've spent 10 minutes with each person. You've got to have something that's different and special. And if you stand out in any way, shape, or form, you're more likely to get picked.
Dude, that's a great point. That's a really good. Anything you guys want to add? Any other questions you have? Let me see on both sides here. Dude, you've got some raving fans now. Brian, we need to have you on more often, bro.
Hey, Tristan, I'm willing to be on whenever.
I think next week, let's really do that. Dan, can you write it up so that, by the way, everybody who's listening, Dan is our marketing director. He's in the background listening. Dan, can you set up so that Brian and I can do like a Facebook Live next week and do like a whole 15, 20 minutes just on scripting? And I think that'll help lots of people. We'll take turns. Brian's better than me, so he'll go first, and then I'll go second.
So, and here's what I'm gonna preempt our little thing there, Tristan. Here's the thing that you guys want to pay attention to: the scripts are not not the words on the pieces of paper. And if you look, and again, I'll pat Tristan on the back here. I've listened to him, and he's empathetic when he talks to people. Tone, speed, and maybe we can cover that, but your tone, your speed, your mirroring of what's going on the other end of the phone, far more important than knowing the 25 words on that piece of paper. And dude, that's where the money's at, because everybody can read off a piece of paper. And how many times have someone been telemarketed and you're like, this guy's reading off a script? So If you sound like you're reading off a script, guess what? They know you're reading off a script.
You're right, man. I think even those three things that you said are so important that you don't even have to go on a script. You can just listen, and you'll do a great job just with those three things.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If anyone's out there, I didn't even know scripts existed. I know that's going to sound kind of crazy until I joined Keller Williams back in 2013. I'd never seen a script.
What? What the hell company were you with before?
My own company. I have my own company.
That's the problem. Dude.
Yeah, I don't advocate that, by the way. But my point is I sold a ton of real estate, and I didn't know that there were scripts. I said a lot of those things. I learned them.
So funny.
But it's great to have the scripts. Here, I'll give a shout out for either coaching, training, consulting, something. Don't be like Brian. Get somebody to be your mentor. Get someone to be your coach. Get someone who you can copy and be like them. Don't try and reinvent the wheel, because here's the thing. I reinvented the wheel and found out someone had already invented it. And so I wasted years just being smart. And it's a really kind of a funny story. So
I agree, dude. Well, thank you so much for your time. If you want to find Brian, how do people find you online? They just type up Brian Curtis, or do you have a website?
I do have a website. Let's see. SearchNWA.com is my real estate website, and I am on Facebook.
NWA, you said?
SearchNWA.com.
And what area do you cover, just in case people want to send you referrals?
I'm in Northwest Arkansas. People have heard of Bentonville, Arkansas, only because it's the home of Walmart, and so that's. I live one city away from there. I work Bentonville. I work basically the whole area. It's small enough that you can't just work one city if you want to make any money. So yeah, all of Northwest Arkansas. We've got a team of 22 agents, buyers agents, sellers agents. We're happy to help anybody out there. Appreciate the shout out on that.
All right. I love it. Well, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. And you and I are going to do a Facebook Live next week just on scripts. That should be badass, dude.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, Tristan. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.